If you are new to live streaming or if you want to level up your live streams, today we're going to be talking about different things that I've learned over almost a decade, really. I think it's been about 8 or 9 years since I started live streaming. So we're going to be talking about things that I've learned along the way that will help you become a better live streamer. So for example, we're going to be talking about getting ready for your stream, those jitters that you get sometimes. We're going to be talking about growth tips. So if you're somebody that uses your live streams to actually grow your YouTube channel or grow your audience anywhere, then we're going to be talking about that particular thing as well. We're going to be talking about production tips so that you can make everything look and sound better. And we're also going to be talking about tips for more engagement as well as doing a Q&A. So once we're through the content, then we're going to move into a Q&A part. So if you do have any questions about any of the things that I mentioned while we're streaming today, then you want to save that for the Q&A. So the very first thing that I want to talk about is getting ready for the stream. So one of the questions that I often get is people are like, do you get nervous before a live stream? How do I kind of shake off that worry before I hit the live button? And if you're a live streamer, especially if you're new, you probably know what I'm talking about. But when it comes to shaking off those pre-live stream jitters, or we'll just call it what it is, that nervousness that you might get about where you're thinking about maybe messing up during your live stream, or you're thinking about losing track of what it was that you were talking about, or you're worried about maybe something going down, or things like that. I want to talk about how you can overcome those types of things so that when you first start your stream, you're going to be in a much better place mentally in order to be able to proceed with the rest of what it is that you're doing. So the very first thing that I have on my list here is moving around and shaking up your body a little bit, right? If that means doing jumping jacks, then do it. If that means that you just need to walk around a little bit and just kind of flap your arms around a little bit, or move your head around and just get kind of loosened up. And when you do that, it just kind of helps the blood get flowing in your body, which is going to help you just mentally when you're communicating in your live stream anyway. But it's helping the blood get flowing around your body and just kind of helping you loosen up, which is going to help kind of shake off some of that nervousness. In addition to that, practice speaking out loud a little bit before your live stream. So let's say 10 to 15 minutes before your live stream starts, you can start speaking out loud about the volume that you'll speak during your live stream. It can be helpful, at least I found that it can be helpful while you're doing this to start speaking out loud at the same volume that you'll speak during your live stream, and just start talking about randomly things that you are planning to talk about in your live stream, especially if you have a very specific flow that you're going to be going through. Going in, touching on some of those points, things like that while you're doing this practice is going to help you just get a little bit more, ready to go, so that when your live stream starts, you're have already committed some of those things in your brain. You already know kind of what's coming up, but more importantly, your voice is ready to go, and you're used to using your voice for the previous 10 to 15 minutes before your live stream starts. Some people, they'll do this for a much longer period of time. Like they'll start, doing that 30 minutes ahead of time, and they'll do that so that as soon as the live stream starts, their voice doesn't sound all crackly and things like that, because their voice is already warmed up when the live stream starts. Next, I recommend, when it comes to your peace of mind when you're doing your live stream, that you have fallbacks. So what fallbacks are things that you can reference if you do lose track of what's going on. So if you're live streaming, you are communicating on the fly. As a part of that, sure, you might have notes, which is one of the things that we're going to talk about, but you might have notes, you might have bullet points, you might have very specific things that you're going to say. But let's say you're sitting there and you're live streaming and you accidentally hit your mouse and it ends up scrolling way past everything it is that you have in your notes, and it's going to take you a little bit of time to go back and find it. So when you have the fallbacks, what those are is there other things that you can talk about when you lose your train of thought, or if you end up losing your place in your notes or run of show, if you're doing it at a more professional level. So the idea with a fallback is you can just have notes of other things that you can talk about. They can be current events that have happened. They can be things around your industry. They can be things about the very specific live stream that you're doing. But the idea is to just have a note somewhere, either in your notes or in a notepad sitting next to your computer monitor, or if you're streaming on your phone, have it, just sitting somewhere where you can easily assess it. access it, sorry. And the idea is if you do lose your train of thoughts or you do have some type of issue with your notes, then you can just glance over to those notes and you can see, like, let's say you're doing woodworking content and you have like an overhead camera and you're showing people what's going on there and all that. That's got to be relatively smooth. So let's transition that into like, educational content or content where you're, talking about things. In that particular case, if you end up losing your place, then you can look at those notes and you can say, oh, by the way, have you guys heard about blah, blah, blah? And you start talking about whatever that thing is while you're sitting there and you're trying to find your place in your notes. But by having those fallbacks that are not directly connected to the notes or your run of show that for your live stream, it gives it to where you don't feel like you have to just come up with something, right? So it just gives you a nice lead on something to talk about while you're letting your brain, kind of get back together. Also, another thing that that is going to be helpful, obviously, and creating your fallbacks is a part of this, and so is creating notes or bullet points for your streams. But having some type of plan for your stream. So if you know what it is that you're going to be doing, then you can focus on delivering the value that you're going to deliver, and you can focus on getting through all of the notes that you have. And when you are planned in that way, then okay, when I start my stream, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and I'm going to talk about this, and we're going to do this. And I'm going to show some of this, and then we're going to do this. And as you're going through that process, having that clear plan of what it is that you're going to do keeps you from fumbling all over the place. Because if you start a stream, you're like, all right, we're going to go live, but I'm not 100% sure outside of the topic what I'm going to be talking about, then in that particular case, it can make everything extremely messy. And when you know that you have the plan, you know exactly what it is that you're going to do, it puts you in the position to where you're like, okay, all I got to do is follow my notes. And that can just kind of help relieve some of that worry or some of that tension. So when you are planning your stream, I do recommend that you plan your hook in terms of what it is that you're going to say as soon as the stream opens, because this is really important, especially if you're going to be trying to use your live stream for growth, because you want to think about the viewer experience and how people are going to experience your live stream as they're coming in. This is also important if you have people waiting for you to start live streaming. So as soon as you hit that go button, you already know exactly what it is that you're going to say. You say that, and then you start moving to the next part in your notes. Another part of the preparation is, of course, you have your hook. You also want to, this is going to be dependent on the type of stream that you're doing, but you might want to have some type of inclusionary or feedback or, engagement section of your live stream as well. If that is the case, and if you have, and we're going to get into more details about exactly how you can get people to engage more in your live streams here in a second. But basically, if you have that inclusion part of your live stream also planned out, then in that particular case, you can have very specific questions that you're asking people and things like that, so that as people are coming into the stream, if you choose to, then you can recognize people and things like that as they're coming in to just kind of, make everybody feel a part of your live stream. And as a matter of fact, this is what it looks like. So Robin Buys and DIYs, nice to see you here today. Welcome to the live stream. Chantel Hill's in the house. What's going on? Hope you're doing great. Doug Houston, nice to see you here. Creator Classroom in the house. Hope you're on fantastic. Boss at Live, nice to see you here too. Co-founder, nice to see you in the live stream as well. Hope everybody's doing fantastic and enjoying the information so far. If you are, then hit the thumbs up button. Just, I use that as kind of like a feedback mechanism just to make sure that you're getting, some tips from the, from the live stream. You're getting some value out of what it is that we're doing. So the next thing that you need to plan is your reset. So what the reset is if you are going to be live streaming for growth, and again, I got a whole section on that, but if you're going to be live streaming for growth, a part of that you're going to hear me talk about is resetting your live stream. And the reason for that is because if you are streaming and you're using your live streams as a mechanism to bring attention to your YouTube channel or to bring attention to anything it is that you're doing on any platform, then in that particular case, you want to make sure that you do reset your stream so that you can get rid of all of the stuff in the beginning that might not have mattered. So little shout out sessions and things like that, that inclusion part, that any type of things that you might share that might not really be relevant to the replay viewer, you want to make sure that you're getting rid of those things. So because of that, on YouTube specifically, so I'm not sure about other platforms, but I know YouTube because that's my jam. So when it comes to YouTube, they actually have a built-in video editor, and the experience that viewers have on your videos on YouTube is extremely important. So what that means is if you can get people to click, but they abandon your video quickly because you have some countdown timer or it takes you too long to get to the information that they came in for, then in that particular case, they're going to leave your live stream replay. When that happens, it tells YouTube that they're not into it, and then YouTube's going to prioritize other content in place of yours because people aren't responding well to yours because they can't figure out, where to start the stream. So when you edit your streams down, then one of the things that happens there is it gives you the opportunity to create a better experience for people as they're coming in on the replay as well. So then you can get the live stream benefits, and then you can get the replay benefits as well. And you can have that content living on YouTube forever, which can bring, a viewer a day, sometimes a viewer a week, depending on the content. But it, gives you the opportunity to keep bringing people into what it is that you're doing. And we're going to talk more about the reset here in a second, but the reset in a nutshell is where you restart the stream. And that's after you get through all the other stuff. What you can do is you can just say the hook that you already planned again as a part of your reset. And I'm going to talk about the reset and exactly how to do it here in just a little bit when we get into the growth part. So the other thing that I wanted to mention in terms of a part of this is, of course, when you're planning your stream, then obviously you want to make sure that you do plan for the actual content itself. And if you are live streaming directly to YouTube and you are using your live streams for growth, you also want to plan any videos that you're going to recommend that people watch as well once they're finished with your live stream. And again, this is for the replay. And what that looks like is once you get to that part in your live stream, at the end of your live stream, instead of just saying, hey, thanks for hanging out, talk to you guys later. What you want to do is once you get to the end, you want to say, oh, hey, by the way, I've got a video on my channel or this other live stream that I did that, shares a lot more insights or takes you deeper into, whatever the thing is that you're talking about. But you just want to have another relevant piece of content that you recommend people to watch based on the topic that you're talking about. And then you set that up at the very end of your video before you start saying things like, hey, I hope everybody has a great weekend and thanks for hanging out, blah, blah. You do that little part so that when you cut off the beginning, you can also cut off the end in YouTube's editor. And then that makes it more of like an actual video experience for the replay viewer. So you want to plan all of those things so that once your stream is complete, you can go in and do a little post optimization there. And then you are good to go to take full advantage of the benefits that you can get from the replay views. Next, as part of your planning, you want to make sure that you give each section a time. I mean, not make sure, you don't have to do this, but if you are trying to just give yourself that peace of mind and give yourself that lead on what to do next, then in that particular case, you want to make sure that you do consider giving each block a time allotment. And the reason for that as well is because, one thing that I'm guilty of on every live stream that I do is I just, I'll keep going. And I keep going and I keep going and I keep going until I'm like, okay, I gotta get off of here, right? So one thing that can prevent that sort of thing, if you are, pressed for time, is to say, okay, our intro, we're going to take about this long, or the beginning of our stream is going to take about this long. Then we're going to work on this part of the content for this long. And that's really like for professionals, they call this a run of show. And the idea there is that you go through and you give every block of content a particular amount of time. And then you make sure like, hey, okay, we're coming up on this time. So let's start wrapping up this particular part. And when you know that also keeps you from extending things too long. And it makes sure that you keep everything succinct and that you get to the point as quickly as possible. And if you do not want to, go all out and, plan things down into, time blocks and things like that, then at the very least, I recommend that you do have some type of bullet points attached to, your notes so that you can at least have some type of structure for what it is that you're going to be sharing. And this is important, even if you're doing like gaming content, or if you're doing content that, is outside of just sitting here looking at a camera and talking, these particular tips are also important for you because let's say you're doing a gaming live stream. Well, in that case, you also have to think about the replay viewers. You also have to make sure that like, okay, let's build up this thing that we're getting ready to do. Let's tell a little bit of a story. Let's add a little bit of a challenge to this gameplay that I'm getting ready to do so that it will entice people to be or encourage people to be more interested in the actual content itself. So they'll want to, go and participate in the full video. And then, same exact thing. Once I'm finished with that gameplay or whatever it is I'm going to be doing in the gaming stream, then in that particular case, I need to also recommend another video and that sort of thing if you're doing it for growth. Next, if possible, create a routine to get you into the zone. Like I'm sure, you've heard of, morning routines and afternoon routines and the routines that you have when you get home from work and, all those things. When it comes to live streaming, the same exact thing can be applied to get yourself into the mind state of getting ready to do your live stream so that when you hit go live, you're ready to rock and roll. So for example, one of the things that I do as part of my ritual is as I'm turning on all my lights, I'm taking deep breaths and I'm just kind of, trying to regulate how I'm breathing and things like that so that I can, stabilize my heart rate, so to speak, and I can kind of, get rid of all that and I can just get more focused on, being present in the moment instead of just thinking about a bunch of stuff and just putting everything together or turning on everything as I go. I'm intentionally breathing while I'm doing all those things. Sometimes I'll even sit down for 5 minutes or 10 minutes before the stream and meditate, things like that, as a way to just kind of pull everything in so that I can, get ready to go when it comes to the live stream. So, those things and having those types of routines can be helpful because then as you're going through those steps, you start training your brain to start getting ready for your live stream. Next, take some deep breaths before you start your stream. Like I said, this regulates your heart rate and it can, calm you down a little bit too, especially if you're somebody that's nervous, right? If you're a new live streamer and you're like, hey, this is, like, oh gosh, what if nobody comes into the stream, or what if, I say something stupid, or what if my tech goes down or whatever. In that particular case, while you're getting ready, you're focused on your breathing, right? So it doesn't give you time to think about those other things because you're focused on, your breath and you're focused on just what it is that you're going to prepare. And since you have that focus on your breath, it kind of takes away your attention on some of those worries about those things that you might be worried about. And next, have water handy because nerves can make your mouth dry. So when you are communicating or your stream first starts, in that particular case, if you're nervous when you start, then having some water ready so that you can, drink water if you need to, so that you can get past that particular part of your live stream. Plus, water helps with your energy as you're live streaming as well. As long as you keep drinking water throughout your live stream, it can be helpful. But you do want to make sure that you don't overdo it because you don't want to have to keep running into the bathroom, of course, while you're live streaming. So next, let's and Doug says right here that talking can make your mouth dry as well. Absolutely. And All Things Crochet, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. So the next thing I want to talk about here is some growth tips. So for the people that are hanging out here right now, does anybody here live stream for the sake of like, hey, I'm live streaming so I can connect with my audience, but I'm also using my live streams to try to grow my YouTube channel or my account, wherever that account is. If that's you, just say me here in the chat right now. But basically, when it comes to the growth tips, the very first thing that I want to bring to your attention is that it's important to make sure that you are optimizing for the replay. So I kind of briefly touched on this earlier, but the idea, and I've got a graphic for this that I love to show when I'm talking about this because it makes it easy. Okay, so we got some people here that are definitely using live streams for growth. Okay, love it. So the reset thing that I talked about earlier that I said that I was going to, talk about, a little bit more in depth for you is this. Now, I've showed this on a few different live streams here on the StreamYard channel. I show this on my live streams from time to time when I'm, trying to explain this point. But the idea is that when it comes to, making your content as good as it can be for the replay, basically, once the live stream is over, when people are coming into that live stream, they are, they don't know about all the live stuff. They missed out in terms of, you shouting them out and things like that. All the people that you were talking about in the stream, they're all gone because the live stream is over, right? So they can't interact anyway. So because of that, even though when you edit your live stream down, it ends up taking away the live stream chat, which some people are concerned about that, but other people are not. So that's going to be up to you. But the idea is that you make a very specific cut point or a very specific place in your live stream that you can reset your live stream so that you can go in there and you can cut that and you can cut out all of the things that don't matter to the replay viewer. So if you look at this graphic right here, one of the things that you're going to see is over on the left-hand side, it has, where you have like your hook for the live stream viewers. That's where you do any like shout outs, any like updates of what's going on with you, any type of, just general banter, that type of stuff that for somebody that's coming in on the replay, it just doesn't make sense for them. And it's not really what they came in there for in the first place. They get there for the content, not for the hangout. That's why they're watching it on the replay and they're not there live, right? And it could also be because of time and things like that. But either way it goes, like that particular part is a part that isn't relevant to them because they're coming in for the content. So here's how this works. So if you look where I have the line there and it says cut point, So how this particular part works is while you're doing all your hangout stuff and you're welcoming people to the stream, you're asking people, hey, where are you from? Let me know where you're from in the chat. And you're doing all those things to, generate engagement and all that. Then what you want to do is you want to get to a point before you start the actual content of your live stream. You want to say, hey, if you're just joining, and by the way, if you're just joining us, and then pause for a second and then say, today we're talking about, or in this stream, or today I'm talking about XYZ, or I'm going to be showing you whatever it is that you're going to be showing people, whatever it is, it's going to be supportive of the title that you're going to be using so that it makes sense when they come in on the replay. So when you do that little pause, then what that does is that gives you a place on YouTube, that gives you a place in the editing tool to where you can say, okay, where do I reset it? And then when you cut it there, it's going to remove all of that stuff in the beginning. So then the replay viewers, as they're coming into the video, they actually get the part where it's like, today we're talking about blah, blah, blah. And then you get into the actual content of the live stream. So if you're wanting to just maximize your growth, then that's the thing that you want to make sure that you're doing so that you are optimizing everything for the replay viewer. Next is you also want to make sure that you are, starting with a hook of some kind, because what you don't want is especially for YouTube, is you don't want to just have somebody click on your thumbnail and title and then they come into your live stream and then, you're right in the middle of saying something, right? So you want to be very intentional about what it is that you're saying, and you want to think about it from the lens of the viewer, and you want to say, okay, if I'm going to, have somebody coming into my replay, then in that particular case, what could I say that's relevant to the content and how I'm, putting the thumbnail and title together? What can I say to that viewer that will make them be like, oh yeah, I definitely want to come and check this out, right? And of course, it's got to be relevant to the content and all those best practice things. But the idea is that you want to make sure that you are doing that reset. And if you do have people waiting for the live stream as well, and they're waiting for you to go live, then when it starts, you also want to have a very similar hook where you just let people know what it is that you're doing so that they can have a reason to want to stay and hang out in the live stream. Another thing is, if you are live streaming for growth, you also want to make sure that you are scheduling your streams in advance, because it can make a difference. So if you have a small audience, then in that particular case, when you hit the live button, you might not have anybody that comes into your live stream. So if you do want to just give people time to prepare for your live stream, for the people that are engaged in what it is that you're doing in that particular case, then make sure that you do have the stream scheduled in advance so that people can just have that time to prepare. Next is if you wanted to take the most advantage out of your live streams for growth. And when I say growth, I don't necessarily mean just the particular live stream that you're doing growth. But what I mean is, if you are doing your live stream and you're like, okay, I made all this content, can I also use this content in another way that will also help me get my face in front of more people and my message in front of more people and things like that? For that, I do recommend that you do repurpose your live stream content, because if you're live streaming, then you are bringing some type of value. And within that value, you can use a tool like Opus Clip. You can go to opusclip.com and see what I'm talking about here. But basically what Opus Clip does is you can drop your live stream link into there. You can also drop your StreamYard link into there. It works with StreamYard. But when you drop your link in there, what's going to happen is their system uses their AI technology, and it goes through and it starts looking for all of these different places in your video that would make a good piece of standalone content, either horizontal, right, 16:9 ratio, that you can just upload as regular video. They have that tool that goes up to 10 minutes long in terms of what it'll sample out, but you can also use it for vertical content as well. So let's say that you're live streaming to YouTube. Well, in that particular case, you can take Opus Clip, or you can take your link, drop it into Opus Clip, and then out of the vertical content that it gives you, now you have content for Instagram, for Facebook Reels, if you decide to, use Facebook as well. You have content for Clapper, you have content for TikTok, you have content for YouTube Shorts if you want to use it, and you're able to fully maximize the content that you've made instead of just having it be live and then it's done. Then that gives you the opportunity to where you can really make full use out of the content that you've created. And again, you can try that at opusclip.com. And if you are live streaming for growth, you also want to make sure that you're reminding people to subscribe. So if you're live streaming and you're not telling people to subscribe, then you're just kind of leaning on them and hoping that they're not too engaged with what it is that you're doing to not be thinking about that. So because of that, just occasionally, you don't have to do it all the time or anything like that. But because of the transient nature of live streams, of people kind of coming and going throughout the length of your live stream, if you just remind people, oh, hey, by the way, if this is your first time here and you're enjoying this content, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can join another stream. Then in that particular case, all you're doing there is you're just reminding them. You're not begging. You're not like, please, I'm trying to hit this milestone. Please, come and subscribe. That's not what you're doing. Instead, you're like, hey, if you're enjoying this, click subscribe so that you can join another live stream or so you can, enjoy more content or whatever the thing is. And all you're doing there is you're just reminding people, because if you have people that are really engaged in what it is that you're doing, they're not really thinking about it, right? They're not content creators, so they're not really thinking about that sort of thing. So that nudge is proven to work to get more people to subscribe compared to not giving people that nudge. Next, if possible, multicast. Now, if you're watching this, there's a chance that you're a StreamYard user. So StreamYard does have multicasting features built in. Everything does now. It's just kind of like a part of, live streaming now. So because of that, instead of focusing on just one platform, it makes sense to multicast when it makes sense, right? So if you do have, like right now, I'm just streaming here because I don't have access to their Facebook account. I don't have access to StreamYard's Twitter account. If I did, I'd be streaming there too. But the idea is that you, on your personal stuff, you want to make sure that you are multicasting to the places where your audience is hanging out, so that you can make it more about them and meet them where they are, right? Because some people, especially YouTube content creators, we have this thing, because YouTube is my thing if you're not familiar with me. But basically, we have this thing where, our goal is like, hey, we got to get everybody from everything to YouTube. And that's just the way that we look at it. But really, if your viewers are also over on Facebook and they're on Facebook right now because they want to be on Facebook right now, then in that case, making sure that you're live streaming to Facebook and YouTube so that they can enjoy the content where they are makes sense. Same exact thing for any other platform that you can multicast to, so that you can make sure that you're meeting your viewers where they are. Because remember, all this stuff is about them, right? If they're not watching, then, then what are we doing it for? Right? So because of that, you want to make sure that you are meeting them, where they are. And also, just as a quick tip for you. So when it comes to, live streaming, how you do your thumbnails and titles and the very specific topics you talk about, things like that, all those things matter. One thing that's hard, though, is getting people to click on what it is that you're doing. So on YouTube, they prioritize, most platforms actually, they prioritize live streams, but there's still the element of getting people to click on that live stream. So because of that, one thing that I do recommend that you do is that you also experiment with live streaming vertically. And the reason for that is because when you live stream into a vertical platform, nobody has to click on anything. So what happens is they're sitting there and they're swiping through their feed. And Facebook's kind of like this too, just in their regular, Facebook feed where it just shows lives as they're going. So you don't have to be vertical for that. But on like TikTok, on YouTube, because you can stream vertically into YouTube now into the short shelf. So how the short shelf works, if you're not familiar, is you just sit there and swipe just like you do on TikTok. And if you have trouble getting people to click on your videos, because let's say you're still working on making good thumbnails, let's say you're still working on titles, things like that, then if you do live stream into one of the vertical options, then all that has to happen is somebody swipes up and bam, you're there live. Then all you have to be doing is sharing good information or being engaging so that you can keep their attention. And then you're going to have some live viewers there as well. So it just kind of removes one of the hurdles that content creators have when it comes to live streaming, which is getting in front of people. So it just removes that element of needing to get people to click. So I do recommend, if you're having trouble getting people to click on your videos or your live streams, that you do experiment with the vertical side of things. And also, just a heads up, in some cases, vertical live streams right now on every platform are just getting huge. And the whole idea there is, again, because it removes that option to click, and all you have to do is be able to capture somebody's attention. So because of that, a lot of vertical live streamers are really doing amazing right now. So another thing you want to do if you are live streaming for growth is you want to make sure that you're tracking the topics that work and the ones that don't, so that you can better understand what viewers care about. This one is something that seems intuitive, but a lot of times content creators will just do what they want to do, and they're not really paying attention to like, okay, when I do this, how do people actually respond to this compared to when I do this? How people respond to that. So because of that, if you are doing it for the sake of growth, then in that particular case, then you need to, make sure that you are paying attention to the very specific topics that you're talking about or the things that you're sharing or showing, and see exactly what it is that, your viewers care about the most. You also, as a part of this and a part of the tracking, you want to make sure that if you are streaming for growth, that you do analyze your stream after the stream is complete, so that you can see what parts of your live stream held viewers for longer periods of time. You can also do this on the replay as well. So inside of YouTube specifically, you can find this through the concurrent viewers in your YouTube analytics for your live stream. You can see the chats. So when you do calls to action, you ask people questions in the chat and things like that, you can see those spikes happen. And that starts telling you, okay, when I do these things, it causes more engagement in my live streams. When I talk about these things or share these things or show these things, then it keeps people watching for a longer period of time, compared to when I do these things. Then these things cause people to leave. So it just gives you more insights into the things that people actually enjoy from your stream, instead of, just running everything based on, what you're hoping that people will, enjoy in the stream. Another thing is make sure that you do make custom packaging for every live stream that you do. And what I mean by that, when I talk about packaging here, I'm being very specific to YouTube, but you want to make sure that your topic, your title, and your thumbnail are being made as an individual thing for each individual live stream that you do if you're streaming for growth. The reason that this is important is because you want to make sure that every single live stream that you do, it's crystal clear what it is that you're offering. And visually in your thumbnail, it's also clear to the people that you're trying to reach what it is that you're offering. So what you want to do for your thumbnails, of course, topically, you want to make sure you're talking about things that your target viewer would care about. But when it comes to the thumbnail, what you want to do is you can put yourself in it if you want to, of course, but you want to make sure that you're focusing on imagery that helps people that you're trying to reach identify that your content is about something that they might care about. And the whole idea with this is, you're sitting there on a mobile phone, you're sitting there on your TV flipping through stuff, you're on a computer, you're going through YouTube looking at everything, and you're just scanning, right? You're not reading every detail of everything that you're being presented. You're just scanning and you're looking for things that matter to you. So the idea is that when you are making unique packaging, unique thumbnails and titles for all of your videos, one of the things that you're doing there is you are making sure that you're thinking about, okay, if somebody logs into YouTube's homepage and they're not planning on watching my content, they're planning on doing something else. If they see my live stream on YouTube's homepage, what about my thumbnail is going to help the people I'm trying to reach identify that this content is about something they care about? If it's your face and the name of your show, in order for somebody to care about that, they have to know who you are, or they have to be familiar with your show. If it is, let's say you do cooking live streams, if it's your face in a photo of a delicious piece of food and you don't have your show name in there, because that doesn't matter to anybody except your regular viewers. But if you have, a good piece of, whatever it is that you're going to be cooking in there, then in that particular case, anybody that's interested in food might be like, oh, wow, this is something food related, right? All the foodies. This is something food related. Let's see what's going on in here. Right? Same exact thing if you're making gaming live streams, right? Have you in there if you want, but make sure that you do have prominent imagery around the game that you're playing, so people that are into that game can easily and quickly identify that that's what the content's about. If you're making content about, giving people, updates on the real estate stuff that's going on in your area, make sure that you're using, houses or imagery that's related to your area so that people can identify that it's about that as well. You might even want to put, if you're doing something local like that, you might even want to put the town or city name directly, on the thumbnail itself, those types of things. And same exact thing with the title. Instead of making your title, the Doug Hewson Show, right? Instead of doing that, you want to make sure, because there you got to know who Doug is, right? You got to like Doug. You got to want to go in and watch his content for that content to matter to you, if that's how you've optimized everything. But instead, if you're like, okay, how to make the best, how to make the best chocolate cake you've ever eaten, and that's the name of it, then in that particular case, you've grabbed their attention with that chocolate cake imagery. And then the title itself is like, oh, wow, this person is showing how to make some like really good chocolate cake. Let me hop in there and see exactly what it is that they are doing, right? right? Because again, you're making it relevant to the people that you're trying to reach and not necessarily about you. Again, put yourself in the thumbnail if you want to, because it can help your regular viewers identify that it's you, but make sure that there's a prominent imagery that will help them identify that the content's about something they care about. Same exact thing applies to music, right? If you are doing a live stream where you're sitting there and you're playing music, make sure that while you are there, make sure that you also have, something that very clearly illustrates that your live stream has something to do with music. Maybe it's a guitar, maybe it's a piano, maybe it's something like that. But the idea is to make it very clear. Also, remember that live streams don't have to be a certain length, right? Everybody thinks that live stream has to be 45 minutes to an hour long, and that's the thing. But live streams can be really long. Live streams can be relatively short. On my YouTube channel last year, I did a thing where I started doing creator news every week. So basically, my YouTube channel, I help content creators learn how to thrive on the platform. And what I would do is anything was happening with YouTube, I would go live every Friday, and I would let people know, hey, this is what's going on. And with that, some of those live streams were like 8 minutes. Some of those live streams, I think I had a couple that were really long, like maybe 30 minutes or something. I think I had one of those where YouTube they started offering this creator music, and I was going in there and showing, in the terms of service and stuff, all the, potential disasters that people were getting into. So that one was longer. However, most of them were, like we'll say 5 to 15 minutes long. They were just as long as they needed to be. And because of that, I added an extra $10,000 in revenue to my YouTube channel last year, just hopping in and doing that live stream by sharing information that I'm already keeping up with anyway. So for an extra, we'll say an hour's worth of work, it added that, $10,000, to my YouTube account over the course of that year while I was doing that on super short live streams that delivered a very specific value. So don't think that if you're trying to grow your channel with a live stream that it has to be long every time. You can also use live to make shorter pieces of content that can be consumed quickly, just like short videos can. Next, let's talk about production. So when it comes to production, you don't need fancy equipment. I'm sure you hear this all the time. You don't need fancy equipment. You can live stream with your phone if you want to. However, lighting is extremely important when it comes to live streaming. Not just live streaming, when it comes to making content in general. So if you can either set up, some type of lighting, if you can get lighting kits for like $100 off of Amazon. Set up some type of lighting so that you can control the lighting that's in your space. If you don't want to buy lights or you can't buy lights, then make sure that you are live streaming in the daytime and that you're live streaming by a window. And when you do that, then it ensures that everybody can see everything that's going on when they come into it, or YouTube shows the preview of what's happening in that particular live stream and somebody hovers over it. Then in that particular case, they can clearly see everything. And then that gives you the opportunity to make sure that you can deliver whatever it is that you're delivering in terms of your value, but the viewer can clearly see everything, and it just makes everything look a lot better and just creates that better viewer experience. So you want to make sure that your, lighting is definitely intact. It doesn't have to be, super dialed in, but it does need to be to where your viewers can clearly see everything that's going on there. And, it'll just make everything look better. Like you can have an okay camera with good lighting and it'll look like a good setup. And then if you do add a nice camera on top of it, then it really starts taking things, to higher levels of production. Next, you want to make sure that you do prioritize audio. So half the experience when it comes to live streaming is the audio, right? Because you have what it is that people are seeing, but you also have what people are hearing. So because of that, it's really important to make sure that you are prioritizing your audio. So you want to make sure that if you are live streaming on a mobile device, that you get that mobile device kind of close to you, or that you're using some type of microphone that will get the microphone close to you. And the whole idea there is if your microphone is far away, as you're talking, your voice is going to be bouncing all over the place, and some of that's going to go into the microphone. Plus, it's going to be easier or not easier, but you're going to have to compete with a bunch of background noise as well. But if you get the microphone close to you, then in that particular case, using like a lavalier mic or, getting some type of microphone that you can keep close to you, then that ensures that the viewers can hear everything it is that you're saying clearly so that they can get the value that you intend for them to have in your live stream. You also want to make sure that depending on your content type, to make sure that your background, or at least the part the viewers see, that it's not, messy, because you want them to be focused on you or whatever it is that you're sharing or showing. So you want to make sure that you do have, everything set up in a way to where they don't come into it and they're like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Like this person's like in some dark corner of some cave somewhere. Is that what's going on, right? So you just want to make sure that you do have everything cleaned up. That one kind of goes without saying, but I just wanted to mention it because I do run across those live streams on occasion. And just in case one of you are watching this, I just want to make sure that, that you do have that information, because those types of things do matter in terms of, the perception that people have of you. Next, another thing when it comes to the production that's super important is you want to make sure that you have some type of be right back screen or a be right back video, something like that, because you will have the opportunities to where you will end up, having to, make a quick run to the restroom or something like that during your live stream, or maybe, something happens, in your house or in your office and you have to just take a moment away from the live stream. If you have a be right back screen of some kind, then it just gives people, the heads up, like, oh, hey, something happened, I'll be right back, right? So that gives them the heads up. I have a music video that I made for that, so that, it keeps people entertained, while I'm live streaming. But you also want to have another one for tech problems. So the idea with the tech problem, same exact thing, is if something goes down, you just want to inform people like, hey, this is what's going on. And one of the really cool things about this, especially if you're a StreamYard user, is since StreamYard does the hosting in the cloud, if you do have technical problems, StreamYard holds the stream open, but the screen will go black. Okay, so let's say you lose internet or your computer goes down or something like that, then the screen's going to go black. But what you can do is you can come back in on your phone, and as part of your preparation for the, making sure that, you have the peace of mind, as part of your preparation before the stream, you can actually go ahead and enter the studio on your mobile device if you want to, but basically have it to where in the event something goes down, you can go in on your phone into your StreamYard account, and then you can activate your be right back screen there, or the technical issues option. So for me, I'll just show you just a quick demonstration. So of the technical issue video that I have. Let's see here. So if I have a technical problem, then I play this. If you are seeing this video because we are having technical difficulties, which means right now while you're watching this, we are frantically running around behind the scenes trying to get everything either turned back on or trying to get something connected or trying to fix whatever seems to have happened that did cause us to lose signal or cause the tech to go down or whatever the situation happened to be. So please be patient. We'll see you in just a few minutes. Thank you for your patience. But yeah, that's the idea. So basically the whole thing is it's just a fun video and it just lets people know, hey, we're having some problems. Now, in the event that I do have to trigger that, I'll put it on loop or I'll let it play once and then I'll go ahead and drop, a music video or something like that, that people can watch. But you can do all that with just screens, and it's perfectly fine. It's just, I choose to do that kind of stuff just because I like making stuff. So that's why I do that way. Next, let's talk about engagement. So when it comes to engagement on your live streams, engagement's one of those things that, people are like, oh man, I wish I could get, at least somebody to comment on my live stream or, some people to chat. So a couple of things that you can do. The very first is that you can ask very easy questions for people to answer. So some very common ones are, hey, where are you watching from? How long have you been watching my content? What's your favorite part of, fill in the blank? Hey, what's your favorite part of the stream so far? If you mention something or if you're sharing any type of information or showing anything cool, then in that particular case, let them know. Or ask for that feedback, hey, does that make sense? Or did you enjoy that? Or, whatever, so that you are just giving a really easy question that people can answer very easily. And part of that, and part of the reason that a lot of live streamers, as the show is getting started, like, hey, where are you watching from? Things like that, is because it starts priming people, right? Like, oh, hey, let's get everybody engaged because they're hanging out in a live stream because they want to be engaged. So because of that, let's go ahead and, get that whole party started. Other things that you can do is ask for feedback. Hey, do I sound okay? Is my volume okay? Things like that. What did you think of my last video? If you're a content creator, those sorts of things. Just anything that you can do to, just kind of prompt people with a very simple question to just give you a very simple reply. And by doing that, you start creating engagement. And as you start generating that engagement, you'll start seeing more, people participating in your chat. And then when new people come into your live stream while you're streaming, they'll see that you have some activity, and then they're going to sit there and read some of the chat and things like that and try to figure out if they, if it's a right place for them or not. Other things that you can do as well, and just a heads up, we're going to get into the Q&A right here in a second, just in case anybody has any questions about the, things that we were talking about. But Another thing too is if you are wanting to get engagement while at the same time have people, spread awareness about what it is that you're doing. Other things that you can do as well is try to get them involved on other platforms and then like show some of that stuff on your screen. So one thing that we used to do back in the day is we would have people take photos of where they were watching from. And one of the cool things about that is people would take photos of where it was that they were watching from, and then they would post it on Twitter. And then my brother actually, he would go in while I was, talking. He would go in, he would look at all those tweets. They're tagging us, at the same exact time, and then he would just pull up some pictures, like, hey, thanks for watching from here, thanks for sharing the photo, things like that. And it's not like a trick. What it is it's just like, hey, this is like we're all here. Let's all get involved, right? That's the idea. So because of that, the advantage there is one, you get, people involved. Two, is it also just a, way that, they'll also tag you. And then you also get some really cool pictures out of it too, because then you get to see all the really, different environments that people are interacting with your content in as well. So it's really cool all the way around. But other things that you can do that don't involve just, promoting you, but will help get your viewers involved is, let's say that you're doing like woodworking or crafting content. You can have a segment of your live stream to where you're like, hey, as long as you have viewers, coming in, to where you say, hey, your latest project, share a photo on Twitter and tag me. And then, we'll pull it up and we'll, take a look at your latest project, those sorts of things. So it just gives you the opportunity to get other people involved. And a really cool thing as well is when you are live streaming in any way and you're doing those types of things where you're being just hyper interactive with the people that are watching, it makes your stream more fun. It makes them, the viewers, it gets them more involved, because then they're not just hanging out and chat and having the conversations there. Your viewers are also like, they're sharing stuff on the internet and they're becoming a part of your stream because you're showing them and their account, their photo that they shared and their accounts, right there on your stream. So then they actually get to be in your stream as part of, that as well. And, some people, they don't care about that, but other people, it's a big deal. So because of that, make sure that you are using those types of things as well. And if you want to be just general, then you could say, take a photo of, where it is that you're watching from, those types of things. But another thing that's super important, of course, is, you got to practice, right? Because if you want to do the thing, just like anything else in life, you got to make sure that, you do it on a regular basis, because the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. The more you're going to identify little things, even in terms of the workflow, the routine before you actually start your stream, things like that. You're going to start just fine tuning things over time because you're doing it a lot. And when you're doing it a lot, you start getting past the things like, okay, what if people say this, or what if this happens, or what if this happens? You get way past that. And then you're like, okay, well, now I'm not really concerned about that. So instead, let me focus on, this part. And it just kind of helps you just dial everything in and just get good at doing the thing. So now we are going to go ahead and do a Q&A as a part of this. So if you do have questions about any of the things that I mentioned, during this conversation, then make sure that you do drop it into the chat. Make sure you put a Q in front of the question. If you don't have any questions, that's fine too. But if you do have any questions about any of the content that I mentioned, or if you have questions about anything related to YouTube, because that's my area of specialty, if you do have any questions about YouTube or live streaming, then go ahead and put a Q in front of your question and just go ahead and put it into the chat right now. I know we've got some experienced streamers in here, so I'm not sure if we'll get many questions, but I'm just going to put it out there just in case, you have something that you want to know. So Creator Classroom says that he has a contract with StreamYard to stream on their channel about this topic specifically. Let's see here. What was that about? Looking for Arthur Lee. He says, hey, Nick, why are you the StreamYard instead of just every Saturday you can broadcast from your own place? What's the difference? So this is an interesting question. So with this, and then I'm going to get to George's question here in a second, but with this particular question right here, this is actually a really good question. So when it comes to the reason, so to speak, that I stream here, yes, I am, contractually obligated to do it. But in addition to that, one thing that's awesome is that, I can stream on my channel and people will engage over there. I can stream here, and that, adds value to the StreamYard community. And then it also lets people over here know about me as well. So, somebody that might not have ran across me on my YouTube channel, they might run across me here. And when they run across me here, they might be like, who is this guy? What's going on? And they might find my channel that way too. So it's also like a marketing play, so to speak, on my side, to where in addition to what's happening on my YouTube channel, I can also leverage some of these other channels to also, get my brand out there even more. So because of that, it's beneficial for the StreamYard channel because they get content and their community here gets value through the information that's shared. And then it's beneficial on my side because, through the sponsorship, obviously that's, beneficial. But in addition to that, we also have, that I get in front of people over here that might not have seen me, ran across my content over on my channel. And that's a big deal because, YouTube is so huge and there's so many different types of content that it makes it, like there's a really good chance, unless they're looking for YouTube specific stuff, that they may or may not, run across my content. So that's the idea. So the first question that we have, or the additional question that we have, I should say, is how do you add / set up the technical difficulties clip? So for that, inside of StreamYard, and here I'll just I'll screen share here. Let me just kind of move some things around here to make this easy, and I'll screen share and show you how to do it. So inside of StreamYard, we have this option here where we can, and we might go into like the tunnel here, so to speak, but we're going to go for it anyway. There's the tunnel. Okay. So if you look over here on the right side of the screen, if we go into this brand area and then we scroll down over here in this brand area, then you are going to see right here, I've got some different screens, right? So right here, I've got the music video that I play during my live streams. I also have this where this is my Be Right Back screen. It's a music video I made. It's a rap video that I made about just refilling my coffee cup. And then this one right here is my technical difficulty screen. This one right here is another music video where I I tap that and it's just a reminder for people to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to see any of these, let me know and I might play one of them. This one right here is a music video that I did with a friend of mine back in the day. So I put it up here, for fun because I play that sometimes. And this right here is just like a little super chat graphic that I've added. And all of these things inside of StreamYard, you can add them right here by just tapping or clicking into the add video clip option. And then when you do that, then it gives you the option to upload any video that you want up into this particular area. This is another place where, let's say you wanted to start a live stream, but you wanted to play a long video instead of doing the actual live. You can do that here too, to where you just upload that video here, you start your stream, hit play, and then you are good to go there. Other fun things, just as a part of this particular area, is if you look right here, there's this looping option. So when you check this looping option, what happens is it just keeps looping it. So in this case, this technical difficulties video is only 24 seconds long. So if I'm having trouble, then in that case, I just turn on the loop and it'll just keep looping that if I don't switch it to this particular one. So when it comes to doing that inside of StreamYard, they make it really easy to do that sort of thing. And while I'm in here, I'm actually going to show you something else too that I also recommend as a part of what it is that you're doing. So you can see here, right over here on this side, some other ways that I use, I use this is one, when I'm setting up my live stream, and you see how it puts these lines here on the screen, right? Like right here and here, these red lines. This is called the rule of thirds. So it's like a rule of thirds grid that I made in Photoshop, and then I dropped this into here. And then when I'm setting up my live stream and I'm positioning my cameras and everything like that, then I follow this guide to help me make sure that everything is positioned correctly, to make sure that I'm in the center of the screen, to make sure that everything's in the place that it should be, so that when a viewer comes in, then it kind of helps tune that focus. This one right here. Another thing is I have this up because in this particular setup, this camera, not this camera, I usually use my other camera, but I just got it back from the shop, so I haven't set it up yet. But like this camera here, let's say I was getting ready to make a video, not live stream, but make a video. Then what I'll do is I'll open up StreamYard. I put StreamYard into another monitor, and then I will use that as a preview, and then I'll keep this grid on. And I'll actually just remove the screen recording real quick so you can see what I mean. But I remove that, and then I have this. So then when I'm making the video, I also make sure that, that I'm center and, all that stuff. And it just kind of helps me make sure that I, keep everything, positioned right. Another thing that can be really helpful as well, if you're a StreamYard user, is if you make vertical content, I have a similar thing for vertical. So what this does is if I'm doing like a YouTube short or a TikTok video or something, and I'm doing it sitting down here at my computer, then in that case, I put this on, and then it lets me know to stay within these bounds when I'm, doing that content. Right here, I have another version of that to where it shows the here. I gotta bring the screen down for it, but you can see right here. So basically, what I would do here is I would say, okay, well, I'm a little bit over to this side. So let me kind of scoot over here just a little bit and kind of center myself up in that area, because over here where the red area is, that's where like engagement things are, like comments, things like that. And then down on the bottom side, you have the options for, here, let me turn off the comment here so you can see it. But on the bottom side, you have the, where the title and all that stuff is. But by doing this, it gives me the ability, turn that off real quick. But it gives me the ability to make sure that everything is in frame. So if I needed to, I could scoot back if I need to, or if I was going to, get up closer to the camera to, kind of make an emphasis on something, then in that case, I could lean in and then I would just adjust it here. And then I would, look at the camera and say the thing, right? So doing this also, just gives me that opportunity. And then I have remember to smile on here because I, sometimes I'll tend to be serious and then get to the point, because I can also waffle on quite a bit sometimes as well. But yeah, those types of things are just kind of extra bonuses that I can use this for. You can also add, just a heads up, you can add like graphics in here, like that kind of stuff. You can add that kind of stuff too. So let's go back to the chat here. So let's see here. So the next question that we have is, as a Be Right Back, can I show sponsored content that I shot myself with me in it? Technically, yeah. So if you make it yourself, then you can show it, right? So for example, this one right here, I have a tube spanner one in here to where I can also play this.
The tube spanner browser extension will help you in multiple ways as a content creator. The Upload Assistant will help you upload and optimize your videos more efficiently by utilizing customizable upload templates and smart tokens so you can insert very specific elements into your description when you need them. The AI title generator.
I'm just going to stop it. But basically, by me making that, since I made it, I can play that, before a video starts. I can play it during live streams. I can do whatever. In terms of YouTube rules, what you're not allowed to do is hey, Brad, what's going on, dude? Nice to see you in here. What you're not allowed to do is you are not allowed to have a company give you a ad that they made or a commercial that they've made and then put that into your video. You're not allowed to do that. Oh, it looks like my light went off back there. Normally I've got like a backlight back there. I think it was on when the stream started. Not sure, it should be. Let's see here. Next up, how important is it to have a good scenario? Can I have success with a black wall behind? Totally. Absolutely. Like when it comes to, your live stream, it's more about the value. So, when it comes to making everything like look a certain way, that comes down to preference and, like what it is that, how it is that you want to kind of represent yourself with the content that you're making. But you can absolutely, just have like you and then just have a, black wall behind you and it's perfectly fine. But here's what I recommend. If you're somebody like me and you wear, a lot of dark clothing, then in that particular case, one thing that can be helpful is having backlights. So with the backlights, and I forgot to turn this one on over here, so it's not going to be as detailed as it should be, but let me show you. So with the backlight over here on this side, you can see that as that light comes in, it puts a little bit of light here on my, on the side of my head, adds a little bit of light here to this side of the chair to separate it from the background. And then it adds a little rim right around my black shirt as well that also separates me from the chair. Right. So by having those backlights in there, what it does is it creates that additional, that additional, separation between the background. So if you are somebody that's doing, that type of, if you're sitting in front of a black wall and you're wearing dark clothing, then that can definitely help you out. Nice EFX watching from New York. Nice. Love it. Yeah, I stream and make content like I do, my channel. I've got, I do content and live streams over on I haven't done content over there in a while, but I do live streams on the Tube Spanner channel where we do channel reviews. I'm starting to make some content over on the Opus Clip channel as well. So like, I get around. when it comes to where you'll find me on YouTube. So Butters says, I feel like I don't have the personality for streaming, and I feel like I'm so boring. What's the right amount of cocaine to acquire for a good live stream? So that's a really good question. So no, I'm just kidding. So when it comes to, not having the personality for a live stream, don't discount yourself in that regard, right? Like, you'd be surprised. Like, you don't have to have you don't have to talk fast. You don't have to have like a crazy camera presence or anything like that. People like to hang out with other people online. And because of that, you can be totally chill and just talk about the things that you want to, talk about related to your content type and things like that. And the people that get into what it is that you do, those people will come in and enjoy the content. You don't have to make a show out of it if you don't want to. You can just hang out with people, just like if you were on a Zoom call or a Skype call or something with buddies. You do not have to make it some high production thing. You can just turn on your camera, and then you can sit there and just have a regular conversation without having to, make it anything or be super engaging. Just be open to interacting with the chat and being open to, just being vulnerable in terms of, sharing yourself. One of the things that's really different when it comes to, hey lady, one of the things that's really different when it comes to live streaming compared to video content is with video content, you can polish it up, right? You can make everything perfect. When it comes to live streaming content, you can't do that. With live streaming content, you can, you will communicate in a more natural way. You will communicate in ways that you probably wouldn't share in a video because it might be a little bit messy or something like that. You might end up using some extra filler words, those sorts of things, but it's all authentic, right? So it's not scripted. You might have bullet points and things like that, but you can't really live stream scripted unless you're using a teleprompter. But in that case, it's going to strip away from some of your personality for most people because you're sitting there reading instead of focusing on communicating. So because of that, I recommend that you just give it a shot. And in terms of your personality, don't assume that you have to have a certain personality to do it, because people connect with, similar people. So because of that, just be you. Let's see here. So Dan's model railroading journey says, can't multi-stream as I'm not on a paid plan. Is there any way to add stream afterwards to the other platforms? Can I only post a link to it on YouTube on the other platforms? So inside of StreamYard, on a free account, I'm not sure if you actually can get your video downloads or not. But I know for the paid accounts, you can. So as I'm streaming this right now, StreamYard's keeping it on the back end. And then when this live stream, when I hit the end stream button, I can go into my library here on StreamYard and I can see all the streams that I've done, or I can at least get this stream and I can just download it directly to my computer. And then from there, if I wanted to edit it, I could, and then I could publish it to, YouTube or Facebook or any other platform that I wanted. So you can absolutely do that sort of thing. But I'm not sure on the paid plan if they give you the archive. And if they do, I'm not sure how big the archive is. So you might have to do it on a stream by stream basis. I'm not sure. But I would definitely look into that. Can you upload to StreamYard on your phone, or do you have to do it from a laptop? So you can do StreamYard on your phone. You need to enter StreamYard through your mobile browser. And when you do that, it's a little bit clunky, right? Just to be transparent, it's a little bit clunky as you're, coming in, because it's optimized for mobile, but it's not the best that it can be because it's not a mobile app. So because of that, it's a little bit clunky getting in there, but you can absolutely do it. And really quick, Doug just came in with an update on the StreamYard archive or the StreamYard library. So you get 5 hours on the free plan of storage. So what you do there in that case is you have up to 5 hours of stream time that your stream will be, recorded, or multiple streams recorded. So you just want to make sure that as your streams are getting finished, that after you download them, that you go and delete anything that, that's going to be taking up that storage space. 720p video clip limitation from that cloud brand section is a deal breaker for me. When will StreamYard upgrade that to full HD? So if you have the paid plan, then you should be able to get the full HD from your library. If you're doing the free plan, yeah. If you're doing the free plan, you should have that. Yeah, so the pro plan has it. So in terms of being a deal breaker, like upgrade if you want that particular option. Or you can also do other things like if you're like, hey, I don't want to pay a subscription. You also have other options too. Like if you look at this device that I'm using here, they have smaller versions of this to where it'll record directly onto this device while you're streaming as well. It records all the cameras that you're using, things like that. If you get the ISO version, this is called an A10 Mini. But if you get the ISO version, then what that does is it'll record directly to it, records all your cameras at the same time, and then you can download directly from there as well. Have you heard when they will actually release dark mode and the reusable recording studio? I know it's coming soon, but I don't know a very specific date in terms of when they are going to release that. For fun today, because I'm learning how to like code a little bit. I'm using like AI to code and things like that. So for fun today, I actually made my own dark mode for StreamYard specifically. So I just went into AI and I was like, okay, here's the code for these different pages and just make me a dark mode version. And as an extension, so it would switch, into dark mode, and it worked. It wasn't like perfect, but I mean it worked, good enough. But I just didn't put it over here for this machine. But if I can do it that quick, like literally over the course of like 15 minutes, then I'm sure they probably have it, relatively soon. Let's see here. George, slots and fun. Yep, my pleasure. Yes, it's me, Tools. My pleasure. Let's see here. Light went off about 2 minutes ago. Okay. Looks like I'm pretty behind here. You don't have to be a cliche live streamer, like being over the top, being extra, like people think of when watching a lot of gaming or React content. Be yourself. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so if there's any more questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat now. If not, then we will go ahead and wrap this up. But really quick, Tara Your Way says, often the video when I have a guest takes forever to download and the streams finally dies. Is it the processing or my guest computer power? Yeah, it could be they shut it down before it has the chance to, do it. Could be their internet connection. It could be their actual, computer, but it's actually doing all that on the cloud side. So it's probably that they end up shutting down. So what you want to do is make sure that you keep them on and just have like a conversation with them after the stream is finished so that, it'll give the system time to actually ingest, that difference. Us Plus Dad, what's going on? Hope you're doing great. Let's see here. Okay. So yeah, so it looks like we don't have any additional questions. So on that note, everybody have a great rest of your week. If you enjoyed the stream, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. We've got tons of content related to live streaming, specifically to YouTube here on the StreamYard channel. So make sure that you check that out here on the StreamYard channel as well. If you are live streaming specifically to YouTube, have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next time.